Today we have on the bench a Dyson V11 Vacuum Cleaner. I've never worked on one of these before. It belongs to a friend of my mom's, and the problem is that the trigger doesn't work. And evidently this is a common issue on these vacuums, and it seems like it's a mechanical issue. There's just like nothing behind that, no springiness, and it should be working. I press this, you get a screen coming up there, so it should be functioning, but that is not making it turn on. So I'm going to take this apart and we'll go from there. Well, that came apart a lot easier than expected. This thing is actually pretty repairable. There was 9 screws so far to get to just the handle. Got to take the battery out with 2 screws here and 1 in the back. Then we have to take this filter, you just slide it off. And then there was 4 screws holding the main container, 4 screws from the back holding that on there. And then there was 2 more that I just took out. So there's a total of 9 screws altogether to get down to this point. And honestly, that's not too bad. And amazingly, they're all the same. They're all just Phillips 1. I was using Phillips 2, but whatever. Yeah, just regular self-tappers. So next I have to get into here to get to the PCB, and that involves a couple of Torx 8, I think. And this little kit I got with the new replacement switches in it comes with this comically large Torx 8 driver, and it came with a prying tool, which is nice. So let's get into this part. So we got down to the PCB. This thing was kind of a pain to get off. There's these little rectangular protrusions. I'm following an iFixit guide, by the way. And it says to pry up from there, and that worked. But I did discover that one of these screw bosses is broken. Little piece of plastic that fell out. Not sure if that's really going to make that much of a difference, and I don't think I did that, because the screw came out easy, but I think I'll just super glue that in, and it'll be fine. So now we have these wires protruding. Not sure where to go from here. There's also a very gross looking conformal coating on the board, but I guess that's important because you don't want ingress going into there, unless that's just flux. No, that's got to be conformal coating. And there's just this super fine dust everywhere. I should probably just clean this up while I'm at it. But yeah, it's not been too bad. It took a little bit of prying to get this off, but once it comes out from there, these little clips, it just comes right off. So we had a similar story with this little shroud thing. It was just kind of clipped in there. So a little bit of prying and it came out. But yeah, this is just like the main DC power connector, I guess. So in the iFixit guide, it shows a whole bunch of white glue on here. But I guess they switched that over to conformal coating, or this is like a different model. But I appreciate that. I don't want to have to remove a bunch of gross white glue. Okay. I just missed a step. I need to take out these Torx screws. Now I think I understand. These big fat wires go down to the switch, and so I need to get these turned around and through this little slot underneath the PCB there. So let's see if I can get that done. Being careful not to damage the PCB or any components therein. Quite fiddly. I think I want to unplug this little bitty connection here. Yes, okay. Got it off. It is pushes down flat onto the board, one of those connectors. That one is gone under the PCB now. I don't know if that's a good thing. Oh, the other one's through. There we go. Okay. Now we got the whole motor section. At least I think that's what, yeah, this has got to be the motor. And then the little power indicator. Obviously, there's no battery plug-in. And these like heavy-duty waterproof connections. Almost looks like an XT60, but not quite. So now we can get to the meat and potatoes of this. These wires, really heavy gauge. Yeah, that's got to be like 8-gauge wire. Those are super heavy. We'll see when I get it out. Are being held in by this piece. So I think I'm going to have to remove those screws. I'm going to look at the guide, though. Just keep going along. I don't want to mess this up. But it's so far it's been not too bad. So I had missed a step. I was prying on this little thing, getting under the clips. You can just see there on either side. And it wasn't going. And I was like, what the hell? What happened? Why is this so hard all of a sudden? And then I realized I missed a step. There's a screw all the way at the bottom of there. You're probably not going to be able to see it. See that down there? Yep. All the way at the bottom there. There's a Torx 8 screw. This answers the mystery as to why the screwdriver is comically large, or long rather, because you got to get all the way down in there. Got it? So far, only 4 types of hardware. Still pretty good. And now we should be able to pry up. It's free. It's just not. The switch is holding it in now. So let me see what I'm doing wrong. So it turns out I had to slide the cables. They were poking up through here. I had to slide them out this way, which is a little bit difficult, but it came out without too much fuss. Now I should be able to pry out there's like a little rubber bung that's holding the big heavy power cables in. So I should be able to pry that out. Okay, that was by far the most difficult part of this, but it was just because I was being an idiot and I didn't know what I was doing. The instructions weren't super clear, but basically I thought I was supposed to pull up to get the trigger mechanism out, or just like pry this like rubber thing loose. But in fact, I was supposed to be pushing down. So yeah, it took me a minute to figure that out, but it's freed up here, and it did take a considerable amount of force, like the iFixit guide said. And so this should just slide the whole trigger mechanism out. Hey, look at there. Yeah, here's the mechanism, and there's our culprit. See that? There's your problem. So they sell metal ones of these as replacements that are supposed to be more durable, but a lot of people in the Amazon reviews I read said that they are less than ideal. They don't fit quite as good. I just got the kit with the 2 plastic ones that claim that they are an improved design, so we'll see about that. Yeah, I guess now it's time to take off this old plastic part and replace it, and then button it all back up. I guess I'll show me just taking this off. It seems pretty self-explanatory. There's like these little cross-shaped, they look like Legos Connect or whatever. There we go. Easy as that. That's trash. Let's look at the new one. Okay, so it might be different kind of plastic. Definitely has a more glossy finish, although I think that's fancier for injection molding. This is like no finish, just the pure machined metal, whereas this, they like sandblast it to get that matte appearance. This has clearly got flashing little bits of plastic around the edges, so it's clearly a cheaper made part, but supposedly, okay, I can see a difference. There's a pretty short little bar that I guess that's for structural integrity, and on this one it's extended. So yeah, maybe it's better. Otherwise, though, they look pretty identical. I think this is going to work just fine. So this little guy goes into the spring. There we go. Okay, why does it... I'm confused. Huh. Where's the switch part? I'm confused. Why is this spring keeping it... Because wouldn't that keep it in instead of out? Did I miss something? Hold on a second. Okay, I think I see how this works. It's all in the battery side. So there's a switch on the battery. If you press it, that's what actually turns on the vacuum. But the battery knows that there's no load attached to it, and that's probably why it's flashing at me. So this red part, that just interacts with this switch right here that's spring-loaded. So that's the spring force that's keeping it forward, is that button right there. Whereas this spring is just to counterbalance that a little bit, I guess, to make it a little bit easier to pull because it's holding it back. So yeah, that's... I don't know. I don't know what I was expecting. I was expecting a more complex design from Dyson, but I guess it's all just in the mechanical, sucky part of the vacuum, not the necessarily these electronics. So far, it seems A, very repairable, and B, well built. So kudos, Dyson. All right, now that I got this whole mess taken apart and I got it conceivably fixed, supposedly, maybe. Guess it's nothing left to do than to just put this whole thing back together. Hopefully it goes together pretty easily, and then we'll test it. So just a quick interjection to test my hunch. At first I put this back in. It was not too bad to get these wires back through the handle, but I was like, oh no, it still doesn't work. Then I remembered, oh yeah, the spring's down here. So I think, oh, it's backwards. Yeah, this is the way it works. So it doesn't have any tension on it until you put that in. Now it's working. Pretty cool. So voiceover Adam here, we had some audio issues on this clip. So what I'm saying is the first step to reassembling after you put the trigger assembly back in the handle is to put this one screw, it's like the medium length self-tapping screw, all the way back deep in the handle. And then we need to put this cable guide over the cables and feed the two big fat power cables through. Pretty straightforward. So now that we have those cables fed through, we need to screw down this little cable channel. And for that, we're going to use these two smallest of the self-tapping screws. And they're Torx 8 in my case, but they might be Phillips for you, depending on your model. Now we need to get this motor assembly fitted back in here. Just goes through this way with that little thing at the bottom. And then the really tricky part, we have to feed these cables with basically no slack through that little slot. So now we got to put these two machine screws with washers back into these terminals. Now we put this cover plate back on and feed this connector through the hole. Now we have to screw the motor assembly onto the handle assembly. In my case, using these two longer self-tapping Torx, but they may be Phillips on your model. Now we can slide on the whole bag assembly or dust collection assembly. Fits in just like that. And then we need to screw it in with these two screws at the back, and then 4 screws at the top here. 1, 2, 3, 4. We're getting to the home stretch here. Now we can plug in the battery, making sure it slides in and the contacts go where they're supposed to. And goes home pretty satisfyingly. Then we have to put in, see, one screw back here, and then 2 screws here in the bottom. And all these last screws that I've been putting in, these last 9 screws have been these self-tapping Phillips. Now we can just put this filter on and give it a test. Slide that and twist it. Oh, and looks like we already got a screen up here. Can I cycle? Yep, Eco, Medium, Boost. Okay, let's try Eco. There goes nothing. Sound like it worked. Medium. It really does sound like a ray gun. And Boost. Yeah, that's got some power to it. Cool. All right, I guess it's done. That wasn't too bad. I actually enjoyed that. So I think my mom's friend will be delighted to see that her expensive, nice vacuum cleaner is fixed. All right, that's it. Thanks for watching.